I feel like the hype for Stormgate that's been building and building has helped Zerospace. When it popped out, we were all like so hyped for this, and we are like,
another one. Yeah.
Oh my god, now there's two.
Yeah.
Like 2 years ago we had none.
Literally, yeah.
Absolutely nothing, and we didn't think anything was going to happen, but here we are. Now we have two.
Hey, SC Historian here. Today we have the second part to my conversation with Chicken Man, StarCraft tournament organizer, streamer, and just genuine fan, Montana West. This part of the conversation got a little bit hectic, but this was some of the most fun I've ever had on camera with a guest. If you've been enjoying my work, be sure to get subscribed, and with that out of the way, let's jump back into my conversation with Chicken Man. So, jumping back into it, we were talking about
the patch.
The patch.
We're talking about the patch.
Okay.
Yeah, I have mixed feelings on the patch. On one hand, I love the idea of changing it up. Really, whatever it is, it's not going to be that imbalanced. We'll figure it out. You know, everybody's initial reaction especially when Wardy did his patch tournament, was like, it'll probably be fine. You know, I'm sure we'll figure it out. And if it's a little too strong, it'll probably be another patch. You know, maybe we can make maps that make it less strong. I don't know. I don't know that I love the direction that it went. You know, I feel like the Cyclone, it was just such a weird choice of unit to focus like the most attention on.
Yeah.
Like if you had been like, okay, which unit of the three races do you think is going to get the most attention in the next patch? Cyclone would have been way low on the list.
Yeah.
Because like right now it's been in this like kind of niche, but really just kind of a nice position for a while. It has some decent use cases. It's not really that great of a unit, but it's also kind of just like a middling unit. It's like a unit you get until you can get better units out. Or, you know, a unit you get in like really specific circumstances where, you know, you're trying to be extra annoying and it's got some cool micro potential. But it is a micro intensive unit, which I always think is good because my Cyclones are never going to be as good as Clem's.
Yeah.
Whereas my carriers just as good as heroes.
Yeah.
You know, so I feel like to me, the Cyclone was not a good unit, but in terms of design, a good unit. Because it filled a role, it was micro-intensive, it was better at the high level and worse at the low level, and that's exactly where I think a unit should be. And it's like, there's all these other units, there's all these other like things we could have focused on, or like cool ideas that are out there in the ether that we could have grabbed, and it just felt like a weird choice. There's a lot of other changes in the patch. I know the Cyclone's been the main talk of the town. The majority of the other changes I'm actually pretty fine with. I think if the Cyclone hadn't been there and it was just the other changes, the discussion would be a lot less like hostile. Mm-hmm. Because most of those are like, we're going to down tweak this and up tweak this, and this one's like a lateral move. And I think we're mostly fine with that. It's just the big changes. It's like, I don't know how well it's going to work. But I'd be interested in seeing it anyways. Again, I don't think it's going to be like incredibly imba, but so far it sounds like it's better. And I feel like I don't know if the balance is such that Terran necessarily needed something to be better right now.
Yeah, that's really like the head scratcher. Like I'm totally open to like new, fresh like ideas to like, you know, sort of spice up the game a little and, you know, make the games look different after so many years. Like I think that's great. The fact that Blizzard even is willing to do this sort of stuff is awesome. Like they really don't show us a lot of other signs of life. So, you know, at least this is something. But like it's crazy what we celebrate now, like but whatever, you know.
Oh like, my god, they let us change something.
Yeah, I know, we have Stockholm syndrome. Like,
yeah
we were allowed to go outside today.
I honestly, like 3 patches ago, I was like, this could be the last patch.
Yeah 100%. Yeah.
We might just be living with this. So
yeah, like
I am excited to have new patches coming out. And we're even testing it on the PTR, which we weren't 100% sure about. It looked for a second there like it might just be fully going live. But we have, on a PTR, we might have 9 maps in the next map pool, which I'm super stoked for.
Yeah, that's great.
I haven't looked at the maps just yet.
No, but the variety is good. You veto the ones you don't want to play, and that's it.
More maps I'm very happy about. Yeah.
For sure. No, totally on board. So, one thing I'm kind of interested about. So now we're gonna shift gears kind of away from StarCraft now, like to a certain extent. Like, why do you think a lot of StarCraft 2 players? We're gonna shift gears away from StarCraft 2 now. Anyways, why do you think a lot of StarCraft 2 players didn't like migrate over to Age of Empires 4? Like, obviously some did, but like, it didn't really. It doesn't seem to be lasting, and it doesn't seem like their scene is that robust.
Yeah. So I can tell you why I and a lot of the people that I've talked to didn't switch to Age of Empires 4. I did play it for a bit. I even put on a tournament for it. And I think it's a fun game. It's a solid game. But there's one big thing that so far no other RTS can do, which is the engine of StarCraft 2. No other RTS that I've ever played or seen played or heard about is anywhere close to the crispness of motion and just like the reaction time of StarCraft 2. If you tell a unit to do something in StarCraft 2, it goes and does it. And there are some like weird exceptions to this, right? There's still some like pathfinding bugs and stuff. It's a 13-year-old game. The engine was probably made 15 years ago.
Yeah.
But like it is damn good. And when you go from playing StarCraft to like anything else, oh my God, like playing an old game, even if you're not used to Brood War, I never played StarCraft 1 at all. So going back to that when Remastered came out, it's like going back to an N64 shooter after playing modern shooters for the last 10 years. Like I don't know, have you played GoldenEye or anything in the last few years?
Some games like
that. It's an experience going back to, you're like, oh my God, I can't aim. Like I'm not allowed to. I have to let it like auto aim for me.
It's like going back and driving like on like, off road as opposed to like, driving on pavement. You know what I mean? Where like everything in StarCraft 2 just goes smoothly. Where like, no, for sure. I tried to play a bit of Brood War and like, I was like, I don't know. I'm too dumb for this. I can't do this. Like I played a bunch of ladder games.
In Brood War, you're fighting against the game first and foremost.
Yeah.
The game is your enemy. And then also there's an opponent you have to go kill. But like you are constantly battling against that game. And you know what? There's something like honorable about that. I completely get. I love watching Brood War.
Oh, me too. I like watching it.
But like I could not sit down and play that game for more than an hour and just have my mouse stay intact. There's no chance.
I tried for a minute, man, and it was like 4 zealots would run in. I'd be like, "Oh, that's GG." Like I don't know. I have 3 Zerglings.
Like, they'd run in. They do this.
Yeah.
As they run in.
Yeah, and they're like, "Oh my God, they know how to control the units." Like, no, this is
We're done.
Yeah, I would have got stuck behind the building.
Yeah, and Age of Empires 4, I think, is like it is nice and new, but it's if you had told me that game came out in like 2006 and they just remastered the graphics, I believe you. It really feels, and that's to their benefit. That was what they were going for. They weren't trying to make like a new, super updated, super crisp and snappy. They wanted it to feel like an Age of Empires game, and it absolutely does. It feels just like Age of Empires 2, but it is updated, it is newer, but it still has that Age of Empires feel to it. And to a lot of people, it's exactly what they want. But if you have been playing StarCraft 2, it's just not the same. Yeah. It's not the same.
100%. It feels like moving through, I don't know, like pudding. Age of Empires 4 does to me. Like, I feel like I'm trudging through the mud ollies.
Yeah,
with
it's everything seems to move so slow, and what I found for me personally is it's really hard for me to move quickly when I'm playing a slow game like that. And like, you still have to have 300 APM in Age of Empires 4.
Yeah,
to be good at it. The top players are still very fast.
Yeah,
but for me, when the unit, like I tell it to move, and it's like.
Yeah, I want to see it execute the action.
Oh my God, you got to be as fast as me. Like if I'm moving 300 APM, you better be too.
100%. Yeah, like you want to see it respond to the input. Like I think intuitively, and like to play quickly, I feel like you have to almost learn to ignore that, which so much goes against the sort of ethos of StarCraft 2, where everything just happens. You want to do it? Oh, it's done. We're doing it.
Yeah.
Or like we're on the way if it's far. But yeah. Uh, so okay, that makes a lot of sense. I think that pretty much is why it's a very different sort of game. I think it's still a cool game. I played it a bit myself, and I like to watch like the Muslim play it and stuff like that for like
Mhm.
nostalgic reasons.
Oh yeah.
But it's okay. But now talking about like the next generation of RTS games we have now sort of on the horizon, Zerospace and Stormgate. Are you pretty amped up about these titles?
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Obviously, we've been talking about Stormgate for a long time. Really excited for it. I remember when Frost Giant was first announced as a studio. We were like, oh, "Are they gonna make? They gonna make StarCraft 3?"
Yeah.
And that's so. There's been a lot of excitement about that for a long time. Really awesome people working there. Obviously, you just talked to Kara
Yeah.
the other day, but like the whole team, you've talked to a lot of them actually. Now that I think about it,
Just three. I mean,
there's
like interacted with, yeah.
yeah. There's just a lot of lovely people and
Yeah.
people who clearly love what they're doing. They care about what they're building, and it filled me with such hope. I think it filled a lot of us with such hope that there was this future for people who enjoy RTS and specifically, StarCraft and Zerospace came out of like nowhere.
Yeah.
I was not ready for that,
Yeah.
like at all. Um, I like briefly learned about it the day before there's a big announcement, and I was like, oh, there's like a whole new thing coming out right now, and I'm super stoked for that too.
Yeah.
And I love that there's just like there's these games now, and I feel like it's almost like a competition, but at the same time, it's that rising tide lifts all ships kind of thing, where the more excitement there is in general for the genre and for this collective group, the better it is for everybody.
Yeah, I think so. Like, what would you say to people? Like, so why do you feel that way? Why do you think it's like they benefit each other?
Um, I just feel like it's kind of if I think back to other genres, perhaps when battle royales were coming out, it wasn't just one battle royale that made the genre popular, right? One game can't just bring a genre up or bring it back is kind of what we're hoping for in the case of RTS, right? There needs to be this like kind of building hype over time. I think that only happens if you have multiple games, because anybody can release a game and no matter how good it is, if it's just the one kind of game, I think lately there's been like open world games, right? These kind of open world RPGs in the last few years have really exploded, and that only happens when they can build upon each other. You know what I mean? Like Breath of the Wild was this huge game, and Elden Ring was this huge game. We just got the second Breath of the Wild, and like they just kind of keep building on each other and keep that momentum going. And so I feel like that's ideally what we'd want to see for RTS, right? What we want is there's almost always like a new RTS to play, and they're not always going to be great, but if you have like a few big solid ones, if Stormgate and Zerospace become our huge RTS, and then maybe there's some other ones that are coming out and suddenly more game studios are interested in developing them as the popularity increases, that's how we all get lifted. And the audience as a whole is better for each individual game.
Yeah. No, for sure. I mean, like, I don't understand people that argued initially when they announced Zerospace that it's a zero sum game. Like one game is going to become successful and the other one's going to be a shitter. Like
No.
it just doesn't make any sense at all. Like if we were already
Yeah.
excited about something, we're not going to all of a sudden be like, oh yeah, no, that's trash now. We're going over this. But it also doesn't make sense to be like, no. The game I think is going to be good is coming. I'm not going to go with this. Like, what is this? I'm not with this. That's also like psychotic.
Yeah.
And so like I don't think it's a zero sum game at all. Like if you look at even historically, like we saw LOL and Dota come up at very much the
Oh
same
yeah,
time, a year
right
apart.
at the
Like
same time, it was like
yeah,
this huge thing.
100%. And they both the
Oh,
money flooded in, and it's the same thing with all the battle royale games. Like we saw all
yep.
these different games take off at the same time, and they're all still around. Like they still have their events, and they have their community and their streamers. Like people latch onto that. That's like this is their game, but they dabble with other games within their genre, and um yeah, it makes it easier to understand. It makes the games more marketable, in my opinion. Like, oh, look, like there's a big audience, like for RTS. It's not just StarCraft.
Yeah.
Like, there's three huge titles in this genre. Like, let's put more into this genre. Like, that's how it seems to me. I think that's how investors think too.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the audience as a whole is so important. And, not just your audience right now, but your prospective audience, right? If you're like, oh, so we're in this genre of game, here's our audience, but here is the genre audience. These are people that could stop in, right? This is the prospective audience is also super important. And I think that's part of the reason why maybe StarCraft 2 kind of went downhill.
Yeah, because it's the
There
only
was no
one
competition,
standing alone.
right? There was no.
Yeah.
If another RTS had come out, maybe that upswing could have kicked in, but there was nobody making those kinds of games, and like, say a big RTS came out in like 2014.
Yeah.
What does that look like? How does that change the landscape of RTS esports? Because we just didn't really have that. And even when Age of Empires 4 came out, I feel like StarCraft 2 probably got a boost from that.
Yeah, it did, and StarCraft 2 got a boost from Stormgate too. Like,
oh yeah,
like just the hype, the buzz around it, 100%. Like, there's clearly more eyes on StarCraft 2 than there have been in years. And because it's of course seen as sort of like like, oh, we're waiting on the successor, so let's focus on the predecessor, right? And that's a cool feeling, that there's any sort of excitement. Like people have been trying to tell us StarCraft is dead for a long time, for a long time.
I think I first saw that about 2012. So.
Yeah. Like, literally. I 100% remember like the smallest like not small tournaments, but like in the grand scheme of things, like an event would get canceled, NASL or IPL, and those are great tournaments.
Oh my God,
and like I like wish they were around, but like they got canceled. Oh, like StarCraft, see, they're dead. StarCraft's dead. I'm like, oh, come on, man! Like it's 10 years later. Like this is,
we're still doing pretty damn well over here.
Yeah, honestly, like we had this like Saudi events bigger than any IPL or MLG ever. Like now maybe a little dubious in the source of the funds, but I'm still okay with letting StarCraft players bask in the limelight a little bit.
Yeah, it was nice to see StarCraft featured at a big event like that again. And the more I've thought about it too, the more I feel like there is still going to be a place for StarCraft 2 next to these other games.
Yeah.
And I think that was like a really nice realization for me, where I kind of had that thought too, right? Like Stormgate, oh, it'll probably be, like StarCraft 3 essentially, and we're all going to swap over, and StarCraft 2 is really going to be, we're going to be saying our prayers, saying goodnight.
Yeah.
But the more I've thought about it, the more I'm like, I don't think that's really what's going to happen. I'm sure a lot of people will move from StarCraft 2 to Stormgate, but I think there will be kind of a rising, and StarCraft 2 might even see like an increase in overall player base.
Yeah, I think it's going to dip and then maybe rise again. Like I think if Stormgate takes off, I think you see StarCraft dip and then sort of rise again. And I think the same thing, even if like I don't know. Anyway, I think that's totally a possibility. Like I see no reason why StarCraft 2 can't, maybe not have a big, huge, robust like competitive scene. Because listen, face it, right now we are living on the generosity of ESL. And even at that, the prize pools are still 50% reduced from what they were the previous year. The Korean prize pools are still down 40% or something like that comparatively, even with the crowdfunding. So like things are okay, and this is, I think, sustainable, like if things stay kind of how they are. But that's a big if, right? Like we don't know what that's going to look like. Are people going to want to switch gears? Are some investors that want to be in the RTS space, are they going to pull out of StarCraft to get into the new RTS? Maybe. I think only time will tell. But I think there's still a rising tide. I think Stormgate really has the potential to outgrow what the StarCraft community looks like right now.
Yeah. And I feel like it's important that, we do hype it up and we do get excited for it. And I've seen some people who are like, why is there so much hype for these games that, especially, before there was any like playtesting or anything of Stormgate, like, why are we so hyping this game up that we don't know what it plays like, we don't know what it looks like, we don't know what it feels like. And it's like, well, because first of all, we're all excited for the possibility of what it could be. Obviously, there's a chance we're disappointed, but like, why would you ever focus on that? To me, that seems silly. We want to focus on what it could be, because the more we hype it up and the more excited we get about it, the more likely it is going to see, more eyes. We're going to have more people on the wish list, and that gets them more funding, which means they can put more time and effort, which means the game will be better. So it almost becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, where the more we hype it up now and keep building that, the bigger it'll end up being. And even if maybe, Stormgate isn't what you're looking for, but if we hype it up now and that helps Zerospace get bigger and brings more people into StarCraft, and then at the end of the day, we're still in a better spot.
Oh yeah, I think if Zerospace and Stormgate end up like as legit, like stable, like successful titles, I think there's a near 0% chance StarCraft does not see a rise from that.
Yeah.
Like, it makes actually no sense. It makes it such a more marketable game to be in the same category as two other successful titles.
Yeah.
Where right now it is a very hard game to market to people. It's, oh, hey, do you want to sponsor this game that's smaller than it ever has been? To a certain extent. And again, like, maybe right now that's not so true. Like, there is sort of an uptick. But for years that's just been like the way that you have to, like, or the way that like, again, like, marketing, from a marketing perspective, obviously, like, the game itself I think has been great and the community's been awesome, and like, but yeah, like, there has been kind of inexplicable growth, in my opinion. Like, when I talk to people about like I went to DreamHack Atlanta and then Katowice, and like, people I spoke with, like, Wax told me, don't expect a big audience at Katowice. It's a medium-sized city in Poland. Like, StarCraft doesn't pull like a big audience like that there anymore, And I was like, okay, I went there with very mild expectations. Place was packed. There was like 300 people standing outside of the barriers, maybe 500 people standing outside the barriers trying to watch.
Oh, that's awesome.
At the finals and stuff like that. Yeah, no, it was full to the rafters in the StarCraft area. And obviously, at Atlanta, as you saw, like, it was outrageous. Like, it was 5 times the size that I thought it would be.
They had like 100 chairs there, and we were like, guys,
yeah,
we need more chairs.
Yeah, and then I think towards the end it was like over 1,000 of chairs.
They had tons. They had expanded it a bunch, and there were still people standing all over the place.
Yeah,
it was really, really cool to see that kind of that outpouring of support, and people who were not only still just like supporting StarCraft, but just so stoked to be there, so happy to be there. It was such a great environment. I can imagine Katowice was similar.
Yeah, I know. Honestly, Atlanta was better, man. Like, the only thing that made like the matches at the global finals, of course, were like unbelievable, and the hype around like the whole year end sort of thing was very much there. Now, Oliveira's sort of Cinderella story really kind of blew the roof off the place.
God.
Like, that was insane. Like, I will say, like, the moment where I was like, wow, like, I no matter what happens with my content creation, I made a mark on StarCraft, where Oliveira's Liquipedia photos, I took it, and so amazing. I'm like, I'm like, oh wow, holy shit, like, like Wax reached out to me, he's like, hey man, can we like use your picture for this? I was like, yeah, absolutely, of course, like, are you crazy? That was so special for me, honestly, but the event was sick. But Atlanta was in a lot of ways like just more hype, way more hype. The audience at Atlanta was actually crazy. I'm like, listen, okay, I went to like the 2013 Rebel Battlegrounds, like the Scarlet Baneling bombs and all that, and like that was amazing. I never thought I would hear a roaring StarCraft audience again in North America or maybe anywhere again. You know what I mean? Like in
Yeah.
2022, I never would have believed that Atlanta was going to be that size. I personally just walked up randomly and talked to DreamHack staff that I saw just like checking in on things, and I was like, "Did you guys expect like anything like this?" And they were like, "Absolutely not. Nobody knew that like for StarCraft, like that was really like the mentality, and like it's very strange, and now I'm curious to see if it's going to be a repeat thing. Like, is this Atlanta going to be insane like that?
I certainly hope so. I
Oh
certainly hope
yeah,
so.
I hope
I
it's
already bought my
bigger.
plane ticket.
Oh
I'm
yeah,
ready to
yeah.
go.
I have
Yeah.
my plane ticket. Yeah, no, I have my event ticket. Like, yeah, no, I'm looking for a place with my buddy. Like, I'm
Yep.
freaking stoked. I'm going back to Germany as well.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So, what do you think that either of those games like could do differently in order to succeed in ways that StarCraft didn't?
Um, I mean, that's a hard question. I think there was a scramble at Blizzard to try to take advantage of how popular the esports was early on. I don't think they necessarily realized how huge it was going to be. I mean, esports like didn't exist like that
Yeah,
yet,
at that
right? So
level.
I don't think anybody was out there predicting like, oh, hey, when StarCraft 2 comes out, there's going to be an explosion of esports outside of Korea, and we're going to see massive tournaments and massive audiences. Nobody would have predicted that in like
Yeah.
2009. No shot.
No.
So I think there was a scramble there to try to rein it in, and then they saw kind of what other esports were doing, taking control of the whole tournament scene. They're like, we want to do that, and they clamped down, and it hit kind of right at a time where there was a bit of a downswing in Wings of Liberty, and they clamped down on esports, and it kind of bottomed out in Heart of the Swarm. Is how I view it, how I think about it. And I do feel like we've almost built back since then in a very positive way where I feel like the game's in a better state. Our esports are in a better state almost than obviously the prize pool has gone way down, but we're no longer hooked on Blizzard. Like we need them to access their servers so that we can get patches and maps through. And that's about what we need them for. And so that kind of disassociation from the publisher in a way has been, I think, really beneficial to the StarCraft community. And over the last like few years, as Blizzard's been a little more standoff year after year, it's almost like a breath of fresh air. And I absolutely don't think that either Stormgate or Zerospace will have that same issue at all. The publishers clearly understand that they're not going to have total control over every esports event that happens, and it would be bad if they did. And
it's funny, man. I never really thought about it before until you just said it, but it's like, yeah, when you look at it, from the time that ESL took over the foreign StarCraft tournaments till now, I think we have seen like progressively better numbers, and in addition to that, especially at the live events, a better turnout, better production. Or like also we're getting live events, right? Like, Blizzard wasn't doing at like Blizzard was never going to do a live event in America again. Like if they don't even include StarCraft at BlizzCon anymore. Like they don't give us a little stage.
We're lucky we got 2019. I remember going to BlizzCon 2019 and I was so disheartened at how like relegated to the corner StarCraft was. The one thing they gave us was we had one day on the big stage, the big arena stage. They were like, all right, you guys get the one day there. And everywhere else, it was like StarCraft 2 or StarCraft 1 even, it might as well not even exist. They had like some stuff it felt like they put out the leftovers that they had lying around.
Yeah.
I went to look at art and I was like, you guys have like one real like sci-fi thing in your repertoire. Why is there not a single piece of StarCraft art here? Like, what are we doing? There's so much beautiful art from the last 20 years, and you guys didn't put any of it out.
And they have all
I
this
was
like amazing original
flabbergasted.
pieces, like all this stuff
Oh
that
my
they
God, it was
have showed off, and
beautiful.
yeah, there's so many in the past that
Yeah.
they showed off. Yeah,
And like where was any of that? Where they at that point they had already given up. The 2019 BlizzCon was like it was like they were fulfilling the contract at that
yeah,
point. And I was super disheartened. And this was before the ESL announcement. Somebody told me like, "Hey, just so you know, it's not public information yet, but ESL is going to be running StarCraft tournaments from now on. They're taking over." And I was like, "Oh, that's so exciting!" And I was like, way more exciting than WCS had ever been for me. I was just excited to like kind of be able to be away from that, and it felt like instead of somebody being in charge of a major tournament circuit who only cared about money,
yeah,
they cared more about putting on a good show, about having good matches, and about making sure things were like good for the viewers and worked for everybody. There's obviously people in charge who came up through esports. They understand it at a base level that I always got the feeling that Blizzard, especially in the later years, it was like somebody in corporate was like, figure out how to make this work and make us make money.
yeah.
And that was it. That was like the bottom line. And it was the other people at Blizzard who like were able to make it good by being there. But at the top level, that just wasn't that care for esports
Mike
wasn't there.
Morheim, I think, like was a really great supporter of like StarCraft 2
Absolutely.
and like loved StarCraft 2. But yeah, no, I think you're right. I think I agree with that statement in like the post Activision era,
Mm-hmm.
which is what, like 2015 or something, right? Like I think
Yeah,
so,
it was
16 maybe.
it was like a just kind of almost a decline, and I
Yeah.
think more and more people left who gave a shit.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's still a lot of wonderful people at Blizzard,
Yeah, yeah.
but it does feel like there's been a bit of an exodus, and obviously that's why we have Frost Giant, right?
Yeah.
We've got a lot of people who worked at Blizzard who were like, I actually just want to make good games. That's what I want to do. I want to make something good for people.
Like what we're gonna see from Dreamhaven.
Oh,
Like,
me too.
like yeah,
Yeah.
is he gonna make an RTS? Like, like that would be crazy. That would really shake up like this genre. And
Yeah.
like, Mike Moran was one of those guys that like when he would come out on stage, like, he would wear a Terran shirt or whatever, and I would be like, that's genuine. Like that guy is like,
Oh,
he thinks it's
100%.
cool, like,
Yeah.
like that's why he's wearing it, because he actually thinks it's sick, and he actually goes and watches the fucking matches, and he went to Korea and fucking went to GSL. He didn't have to do that shit. He was a CEO of Blizzard, and he just went to Korea and like watched GSL because he thought it was awesome. Like
When he went to Home Story Cup 20, they had the like tropical one, and he went there.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I for sure knew. I was like, this guy's for real.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
He's just like the rest of us. He loves
seems
this
like
game.
such a
he loves
real
this scene.
person.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, like and Tim Horton was the same way. Like, I had the like amazing like opportunity obviously to talk to him, and like, yeah, he's just a down to earth guy. Like, even like what we talked about in the video, like that was genuine. Like his staff was like, oh yeah, no. Like like they talked about like hiring like to bring in a team to like put together their furniture and set up their desks and stuff, and he was like, we're not spending money on that. Like, let's set up these desks, man. What the hell? Like, and he just like started building his own desk, and it's just like, that's the kind of dude that like, you're just like a real human, like you just, even though you're at the head of this sort of big organization, and you're able to generate tons of money and stuff, but that's because they're really smart, and they hire the right people, and they're genuine in their desire to make something awesome because they want to enjoy it too.
Right. Yeah, I think it means so much, and I think it means so much to us as a community to see that genuineness and that desire to build something that we can all enjoy together, right? And it makes me want to enjoy it more. And I feel like that's always part of like actually enjoying a game, is if you want to enjoy it from the start, if you're like, oh, I hope I love this game, I want to find the things that I enjoy, you're more likely to find those things. If I went into a game and I was like, I already hate this game, I'm probably going to hate the game. It's unlikely I'm going to change my own mind on it.
Of course, yeah. No, and honestly, like, Yeah, I had friends that like do that for stuff, you know, and it's such a bummer. Like,
Yeah.
okay, how do we not break NDA things? A friend of mine played an unnamed RTS that he went into with a very negative mindset, and then surprise, surprise, had very negative opinions on said unnamed RTS, and I was like in total disagreement of so many things that they were saying. Like the complaints, just like I feel like I could have wrote the complaints, you know, before, like, and my response is like, okay, like unnamed RTS is not StarCraft. You need to like accept that like it's just not StarCraft.
Yeah.
And like that doesn't mean that it's not going to be good. Like StarCraft's not the only good game that has ever been made. like
Yeah.
people are capable of making games that are good that just feel maybe a little different than StarCraft. That's fine. Like I
Yeah.
want that. I don't want the
Absolutely.
same thing again.
Well, and I think that's part of the problem is kind of what we talked about earlier, right? For StarCraft players, like for me, I didn't play other RTSs. Yeah,
Yeah.
there were a couple strategy games that I played like growing up. Nothing really that intensive though, and I did not play any of it multiplayer. StarCraft 2 is kind of my one experience with that. And since that came out, there really hasn't been something to branch out to in the genre other than Age of Empires 4. That's kind of the big one
Yeah.
that we had the opportunity to. But again, that felt like almost like an older game than StarCraft 2 in a lot of ways. It felt almost like a step back and like a nostalgic factor that I didn't have. I didn't play Age of Empires 2 growing
Yeah.
up, so
Like
it didn't matter to
I
me.
played a lot of Age of Empires growing up, Age of Empires 2 originally, and then a lot of 3 as
Hmm.
well. Like, and I would say Age of Empires 4 stayed more true to like the roots of like the way that those games felt. And so that's
Yeah,
why I agree with what you said. Like, it feels like an older game, but I think it's by design. Like, I think
absolutely it is.
yeah, yeah, you know, and like and I think that they did an awesome job at modernizing that experience.
Hmm.
But ultimately, yeah, it feels like a very traditional style game, and that is the thing for some people, and unfortunately they get to do tournaments in castles and we don't, but you know that's just something that we have to live with.
I mean, what I'm hearing is we need more castles in StarCraft.
Dude, let's make let's make the StarCraft castle tournament happen. I like we could do KSL and castle with a K, the castle
Now you're
StarCraft League.
thinking. Now you're thinking. But yeah, I'm personally I'm excited to try new RTS games.
Yeah,
But I think because a lot of us have been so insular in StarCraft 2,
yeah,
and also very early on it was like us against them, right? It was us against the world.
League,
When
yeah,
League and Dota, and
yeah,
you were like,
CS,
"Oh, I'm not playing those. You're a
yeah,
traitor. I can't believe
yeah,
you play those
that
games."
was the
That was like a
craziest
huge
mentality.
thing.
Yeah.
And now it's like that mentality is like coming back. It's like, oh, if you go play Stormgate, like you're a traitor. And it's
Yeah.
like, hold on, guys. Let's calm down here.
Yeah, it's really funny, man. Like I've had like people sort of say that type of stuff to me on Reddit a lot if I like post content regarding Stormgate there. Um, and you know, I don't want to sound facetious, but it's like, yeah, I do a little bit more for StarCraft than you do, random Reddit commenter. Like maybe not that much more, but a little more. And why would you think that I don't like this game anymore? Like that doesn't make any sense to me. I still like the game that is in the title of my YouTube channel. Um, I but it doesn't mean that I don't like anything else. Like there's no reason not to participate in two different things. Like
Yeah.
it's so absurd. But yeah, yeah, so many people like make you feel like some like that you're abandoning StarCraft if you dabble in anything else. Yeah, I remember from the old days they would roast like the commentators and stuff, like or even players like they would like it would be a scandal if there was like a video of somebody playing League, like some Korean or something.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's like and it's like no, but those guys played 20 hours League a week. Like they freaking like League. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, it's totally fine. And like I think about it too with other game genres, like again, battle royales, right? Like those are huge. There's a lot of different games, a lot of different ones out there, and that genre has stayed pretty massive over the last handful of years. And I don't know, I play battle royales, right? I'll play like Apex, and I was playing Apex, and I was like, I kind of want like a different experience, and I decided to go back and reinstall PUBG. from years ago, which I played. And I feel like thinking about that experience for me, that's maybe how StarCraft 2 does stay relevant, right? People might be like, oh, Stormgate, like, yeah, it's so cool. It plays a lot differently, but I'm getting excited. And then it's like, well, but I kind of want that StarCraft experience, you know? Oh, let me go reinstall that game.
Yeah.
You know, get it up to date. And I would love to see, you know, people kind of come back into the RTS fold. And that's not going to happen if we just have StarCraft 2. We will bring some people back sometimes, but that audience is really, it's never going to grow in huge leaps and bounds unless we have other games bringing hype, other events happening. You know, imagine if we do have multiple RTSs and then there's a big tournament that's just strategy games like that. You know, it's just real-time strategy. That becomes a real possibility if you have, you know, a couple of big name new games, but then you also have a StarCraft tournament and a Warcraft tournament and a Brood War show match, Age of Empires 4 tournament, like little ones going on. You can have a huge event like that celebrates the entire thing instead of like, let's hope StarCraft is at one or two of these DreamHacks this year because I want to go. It's like, oh, they have a DreamHack in San Diego, West Coast.
Yeah.
No StarCraft. Damn it.
Yeah, no, it's like, but if there's RTS Con every year, you know, StarCraft's gonna be there. Yeah, like 100%. That's yeah, really the right mentality. I think like yeah, there's I think there's a lot of overlap too with the Magic the Gathering community and other like other games adjacent to that as well. Like I think Pokemon, I think there's a really significant overlap between the RTS audience and those audiences. And I think that both of those audiences have a lot of people that casually participate in one and hardcore participate in the other. You know, and I think that's kind of the way it goes, right?
You're
like
absolutely right.
like you can't hardcore participate in many different things. Like you can pick one or two. Like what's his name? Like you know, In Control was really into Warhammer, right? And like was a champion in Warhammer and all this shit. Like and so yeah, I mean that guy was just a champion in general in life. But yeah, no, like I think there's a ton of overlap there. I think like there is potential for sort of a big event featuring, or maybe even multiple events featuring, like you know, some big RTS title, some big board game style, whatever tabletop, right? That's the word for that. Yeah.
No, I would love. I mean that. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. There's a lot of like there's a lot of overlap there already with other games, and I kind of, as you're saying it, it's making me think there's like real-time strategy and then you have like turn-based strategy, right?
Yeah.
Which is the real life, you're playing a card one at a time, right? But
I also think chess, poker, like
oh my God, huge overlaps.
Like yeah, so much overlap with people that are into that sort of stuff. Like go to Home Story Cup, you'll play a lot of poker. Like yeah, there's a lot of people want to play poker. Like getting a seat can be tough at the poker table. So like but you'll see also all the Elky and Gur and all these ex StarCraft people. Yeah, like they became StarCraft like you know poker pros. And like yeah, I think the poker's a tough one because it's gambling or whatever. But like but yeah, no, I think 100% as far as chess, that there's overlap. I really want to interview. I messaged him recently. Hikaru, the GM. Hikaru. I'm trying to saying his name probably very wrong. He's like a Hikaru Nakamura. He's like a very sort of famous and you know successful StarCraft chess grandmaster, and he is like a subscriber on a couple different StarCraft channels, Wardy and some others like he watches, and he's like a big time guy, you know, like I emailed,
that's awesome.
I emailed him, you know, like I would like somebody should collaborate with him or reach out to him, his agency or something like, because I think that's another way to bring StarCraft and RTS back into the vogue, is like to get it on these sort of mainstream eyeballs on this genre.
Yeah.
Like I always thought about like we should have got In Control and Artosis on the Joe Rogan experience.
Oh my God.
And I'm telling you, he would, because Joe
I feel
Rogan,
like there was a period of time where that could have happened.
no,
Yeah.
it can happen today, like, but it's just gonna be a year and a half out because his schedule is probably booked like that. But the thing is, like, he mentioned StarCraft, Joe Rogan has, and he also talked a lot about Quake and all these other Unreal Tournament that he used to play.
Yeah.
He used to host LAN parties with his buddies, and like, he got high speed internet installed in the early '90s so that he could play online games on his PC and shit like that. Like, I think that he would totally be receptive to speaking to the right person,
Yeah.
like, to this sort of thing. You know what I mean? But it has to be somebody who's high profile already, otherwise they're not going to take it. Like, Artosis is a good candidate. Um,
Yeah.
but whatever, you know what I mean? Like, there
Yeah.
are a lot of Rotterdam, so many great like talents that could pull off something like that. And I think like just something like this, like I'm really ranting here. I don't know if you mind, but
No, go for it.
I know I think another really interesting like if you watch a lot of these I don't know if you get this sort of content promoted to you, but I get a lot of it promoted to me on Instagram, where it's sort of like these various people who are online content creators who have these sort of talk shows, and they feature people from all walks of life. Like I get so much of it on Instagram, and there's this particular group of guys that sort of I don't really remember any of their names. They just show up, in like shorts,
Hmm.
um, but there's like so much cross pollination of different fields: basketball players, football players, and other different kinds of entertainers, musicians, whatever. Why are there not, and they have gamers? Same thing with other shows. Like, why is there no StarCraft person on the Disguised Toast Team Liquid like talk show? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
we need that sort of thing. Like, we need people that are willing to push it into the limelight, that sort of thing. And I think,
Yeah.
once again, like, these new titles will help with that sort of thing.
I think it's interesting because you do bring up a good point. StarCraft is like it's in the zeitgeist, right?
Yeah.
People know it. A
Yes.
lot of people.
Anybody I
Like,
mention it to, they know, oh, StarCraft. All around the
yeah,
world,
of
I
course.
mention it to
They
anybody.
they all know it.
Yeah.
If they play video games at all, if they have any concept of Blizzard as a publisher, even in like the Vegas sense, even before I learned, I had like played StarCraft, I knew it. Like I had heard it before.
Yeah.
I understood the concept of a Zerg rush. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
these are like baseline things. They're in the zeitgeist, and yeah, I think maybe there have been, I'm sure there have been missed opportunities of people that could have branched out to other areas and made content together and things like that. And I feel like the perception outside of the StarCraft community is probably that StarCraft is from the past, which I don't know if these new games can bring StarCraft more to the forefront again, or use the concept of StarCraft that is in the zeitgeist to build on top of. Yeah, it could absolutely pull that right back in.
Yeah,
and pull a lot of those people back in, even temporarily. I remember like the Mountain stream StarCraft.
Yeah, yeah. And
like, people from all over the place. Well, there's that image that pops up from time to time of the like.
Oh, the Spurs players.
I don't even remember.
On the plane.
The Spurs all playing Brood War back in the day.
Yeah, and that's amazing. Like,
and it's like, oh yeah, like, I don't know, gamer's gonna game, And StarCraft is absolutely, it's one of those kind of baseline games that people think of.
100%. And I think that, like, yeah, you're right. I think it's not gonna happen with StarCraft at this point. But if enough waves get generated from the landing of these, upcoming titles, and maybe even another title, right? Like, I think it's entirely possible that, like, Dreamhaven's been around as established as a company for a while, and they also have, I don't know if you ever looked at their stuff, they have multiple different game studios under that, like, just insane.
Yeah.
So, like, they're making something, and who knows, maybe like they're gonna say, okay, yeah, in 6 months, like, we have an RTS title also coming out or something, like, or in 1 year. Like, I also have seen people coming out of the woodworks talking about StarCraft again. Like, you had, like, Husky, of course, is coming back.
Oh yeah.
Out of nowhere. Like, and I don't know, a lot of people are upset with him. I say, hey, listen, if it brings some more hype, bring him back. Like, dude, you should see the interaction he gets on Facebook. He gets hundreds of
Facebook.
comments, hundreds.
Oh
Dude,
man.
his post got so many comments on Facebook that Facebook just automatically monetized his account, and now he generates money just for
Wow.
having active posts. Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah, literally. Like, he didn't even pursue it. They just like messaged him and they're like, "Oh yeah, your posts get a lot of attention. Like you should be monetized." And like, so he did that, obviously. And
Of
so
course.
yeah, and like, and he's a marketing genius, man. He blew up his wife's business. Like, he knows what he's doing. Like, he's another good person to like help make this sort of RTS renaissance.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I we haven't talked about this yet. This is an important thing. But if these big RTS games, they do blow up, we do get a lot of popularity, we do get kind of a boost. Will Blizzard notice and say, "Hey, that StarCraft IP has just been sitting there,
Microsoft
doing
will notice.
nothing"?
Microsoft will notice.
But I mean, that's the real answer. Yeah.
Yeah, Microsoft is gonna.
Has there been news about that?
Oh yeah, it's all gone through. Like, yeah, so in America, in America,
right?
it's fully passed. In Britain, it was hung up. Now they just tentatively passed it. So like, it's going. It's approved everywhere in the world right now, 100%, except for Britain. Where in Britain it's like soft approved.
Yeah. I mean, I think Microsoft has a much better chance of caring about StarCraft. They'll know, like, hey, you have this IP. Again, it's in the zeitgeist. People know this.
You know,
say
Microsoft
it to people, they get it, and they will see the value in that, I think.
Microsoft has castle money.
That's true.
They have castle money. So
castle money.
Yeah, I know. So we are actually gonna get the KSL with the K castle.
I'm so ready.
It's gonna
hit me up, Microsoft. I'm ready to go.
I'll reach out to my Microsoft contacts and we'll make it happen.
I will get rid of every PlayStation thing I have. I swear to God.
Yeah, no, it's like, no, but I think that's a very real possibility that, like, you know, a couple years after these other games sort of, you know, have mainstream success. And again, I don't think it has to mean that like Stormgate has 1 million monthly active users in the first year or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, I think a couple 100,000 would be healthy. That would really show a pulse in the early stages. And then I think we build from there, you know, like, you know, Rome wasn't built in a day. Like, games take time to get there.
I think honestly, something like these games coming out, Stormgate and Zerospace, that's the only thing that's likely to prompt a StarCraft 3, because again, there just hasn't been that much action in the genre, and I think that's probably why Blizzard hasn't been wanting to invest in it. And Microsoft might kind of stay on that line, like, yeah, this just hasn't been as lucrative, or there hasn't been as much notice on it. But if more games come out, their popularity's building on each other. They're competing in a way, but again, also building on each other, players going back and forth. And I think that would absolutely be noticed by a company like Microsoft, who...
Oh, 1,000%.
What gives me more hope than anything else is that they made Age of Empires 4. Like, they clearly understand the idea of making a sequel to a game in the genre. We've already talked about genuinely how good of a job they did at making Age of Empires 4 feel like a modern Age of Empires game.
Yeah.
It did. It nailed it. And while I, as a StarCraft player, don't love it, I completely understand, like, they nailed what they were going for.
Yeah.
And if they wanted to make a StarCraft 3, I mean, I would love it. I'd love it. I feel like the hype for Stormgate that's been building and building has helped Zerospace. When it popped out, we were all like so hyped for this, and we were like,
another one. Yeah.
Oh my God, now there's two.
Yeah.
Like 2 years ago, we had none.
Literally. Yeah.
Absolutely nothing. And we didn't think anything was going to happen. But here we are. Now we have two. And yeah, that hype for Zerospace. If Zerospace had to start from scratch, that would have been hard. It'd been really hard for them.
Yeah.
I don't know who is leading the company making Zerospace. I don't know any of that. I've seen gameplay, and I know who has helped work on like balance and community outreach, right?
Yeah.
I know like some of the people who have done that kind of play testing, but I don't know anybody behind that one. Whereas with Stormgate, I know everybody behind it. They laid that groundwork long in advance. And I think it's helped Zerospace so much. Already we're kind of seeing that popularity push them up.
Yeah, they're like they are clearly like, again, this is all of course conjecture, but I think StarCraft clearly has seen a rise from the hype around Stormgate.
Yeah.
And I think so has Zerospace. Now that it's been announced, like, and again, like I think that totally confirms the suspicion that it really is that sort of rising wave mentality that everyone's gonna ride on it, and
Yeah.
maybe this game or that game is gonna really take off or fall off. Yeah, of course, these things are like natural. That's like the way of the world.
Yeah. And there's no way to tell in advance, right?
Yeah.
We're not going to be like, oh, well, I know for sure that Stormgate is going to just tank. Like, I have no idea.
Yeah. But again, I think they're just insecure. They love StarCraft, and they think that
Yeah.
like this new thing is gonna kill StarCraft. And like, I'm not gonna lie, I kind of had that mentality for a while too. Like you said, like I really did think like, like, yeah, one day I'm gonna just like be pretty much only like like participating in Stormgate stuff, and StarCraft's gonna be like, yo, maybe once a year I'll hear about something and I'll do it, But yeah, I totally don't think it'll be like that.
Yeah. I mean, I think there will be kind of a swap for a lot of people and a lot of players, especially probably a lot of content creators will go from all StarCraft all day to all Stormgate all day. But I think in general, we're still going to see a lot of StarCraft things happening. I don't think any of us want to stop watching and playing and participating in StarCraft 2. So until StarCraft 3 comes out, I think StarCraft 2 is going to stay kind of a constant. I feel like there's going to be a good constant of StarCraft 2 content happening.
I don't even think StarCraft 3 lays StarCraft 2 to rest.
You don't think so?
No. Look at StarCraft 1. Look at StarCraft 1.
I know, right? Like, Brood War is so cruising.
Yeah, Brood War's cruising. Even if you take Korea away, dude, there are lands that happen in Peru.
That doesn't surprise me. If there was like, they're like, Korea, second Korea in Brood War is Peru.
if there's another land in Peru like next year, I'm gonna go. Make a video. Like I don't know shit about Brood War and I don't speak Spanish. But I'll 100% like that's such an oddity, like yeah, and I was the plane tickets are like $600. They're not like outrageous. I was looking at a couple, but whatever. This is like they're like $2,500 events. Like,
I love it though. That's awesome.
Yeah, like it's really cool that they're just doing that. It's clearly such a passion project.
Yeah.
Like if you're still making Brood War lands happen 20 years later in Peru. Like that's, and Peru's also gone through so much like political turmoil and like still is, and like so yeah, it's just cool that like amidst all that sort of stuff, like there's still enough people in Peru that like love Brood War that they're making lands happen.
That they're putting lands on
with prize pool. Like that's
right.
The thing. Yeah, it's not like $500. Like it's $2,600. Like there's and in Peru that probably goes a long way.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
No, I mean I think you're absolutely right. There's not going to be like a time when absolutely nobody plays StarCraft 2.
No,
I feel like that's just going to keep going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you're not going to see
and people
Loco,
will keep
like,
coming
stop.
back to the game.
Yeah. 100%. You're not going to see like all these people who have dedicated their every day to these games like completely just step away kind of for no reason, I think of course like you'll see people move on to other stuff, but like new people will crop up who like the old one, and like the scene stays alive. Like it might shrink down to like foreign Brood War size right now. Our biggest tournament in 2029 might be a $2,600 tournament in Argentina or something, but like or in like Wichita, Kansas. But like
Home Story Cup 47.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, and Take is like 60 years old now. Yeah. No, I'm not. That's only like 6
Still
years
trying
away.
to get Roddy's shirt off.
Yeah, no, like but I mean it. Yeah, like Home Story Cup is a phenomenal example of like just a grassroots thing that like it shows no signs of slowing. Like I wouldn't be surprised if in 5 years we still have Home Story Cups with similar price pools to even what we have now.
Oh yeah, it wouldn't surprise me at all. And Homestuck Cup, I feel like, is also the perfect place where you could have, other games happening too, right?
Yeah.
It's just like this nice small little area. You could have a show match if it was still StarCraft 2 themed. Have Stormgate show matches, especially as that gets closer to launch or things like
Yeah,
that
or I
too.
mean, even have like
They can
a
throw it in there a lot more easily than like a big broadcast might be able to.
or like a dual, like a multi-game tournament. That's one thing I'm
Oh
really
yeah.
curious about, like too. Like imagine if like there was like a Stormgate team tournament where there was 1v1 match, like it was 2v2s for Stormgate, but then there was
Oh
1v1
man.
StarCraft match as like a decider match or something, like, or you know what I mean, like something like some
Yeah.
wonky little thing. Like we saw that at the beginning of like the transition of Pro League from Brood War to
Oh yeah, yeah,
StarCraft 2,
yeah.
where
It was like
there
the
was a,
hybrid season.
yeah, hybrid season.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
wild.
I want to have a hybrid season of WTL.
I always thought that would be cool to have a tournament that was like multiple different games in that same
Yeah,
genre.
like a
And you
triathlon.
end up, yeah, exactly, like a triathlon. And
Yeah,
you end up seeing like who's kind of the best overall player,
yeah,
because yeah, obviously Cyril's going to win like the StarCraft 2 section. But
yeah.
how does he do in the Warcraft 3 section?
Or chess.
I don't know. But yeah, bust some chess out. Who's
Yeah,
been practicing?
yeah.
The entire StarCraft
And
community, I think, plays chess too, which is
and there's even precedents for this, right? Where like they've had like the chess boxing. Have you seen
oh
this?
yeah,
Like, yeah,
I
like,
did.
yeah. There's precedents for this sort of thing. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
being
I
very
love it.
marketable. Yeah, that'd be super interesting. Obviously it's very different because they're not gonna box, but
I mean,
StarCraft boxing.
StarCraft boxing.
Yeah. Oh my god, dude. Yeah, that would actually be phenomenal. I who can we get to participate in? Okay, we need to end this video at some. This is gonna be like we can continue to talk, but it's gonna be like this is a 2-hour video already.
Comment
Um.
below if you want to be a StarCraft boxer.
Yeah. Thanks so much for watching. This one was sort of a different style of piece for me, as you may have noticed from all the talking I did. Let me know what you think of hearing a few more opinions from me in some of my work in a comment down below. Remember to drop a like and get subscribed. Bye for now.